Hi friends, happy Monday. For the next several weeks before the STAR test, every Monday we will be going over benchmark questions that several people struggled with. I know that some of y'all scored very well on your benchmark, and I'm so proud of you. So I just want to make sure that we understand why the correct answers are correct. And then on Friday, you will be quizzed over questions that are very similar to the ones you see here. All right, so let's get started. One of the questions that when I asked my kids, what was one of the hardest questions on the test? They mentioned this one. And I understand why. It has fractions in it. And I think this was number 9 on the test. So let's read the question. The owner of a snow cone stand used 1/4 gallon of syrup to make 16 cherry snow cones. She used the same amount of syrup for each snow cone. How much syrup in gallons was used in each cherry snow cone? Okay, so remember, we're not only going to solve for the correct answer, we're also going to understand why some of the answers that were chosen were not correct. Okay, so this owner used 1/4 gallon to make 16 cherry snow cones. She used the same amount of syrup in each snow cone. How much syrup was used in each snow cone? Well, in our question, we obviously know we are dealing with equal groups. Okay, so I guess our question is going to be, are we going to multiply or are we going to divide? Well, our question sentence pretty much tells us what to do. How much syrup in gallons was used in each snow cone? It isn't asking for how much syrup was used altogether in all 16 snow cones, is it? No, that would be asking for the total. And it's not. It's asking for what is in each group. We know that if we're not looking for the total, we're looking for what's in each group, then we must be dividing. And this is where several kids made a mistake. Now the question is, if we are going to divide, what is getting divided? One thing that we always have a hard time understanding is that in division, it's the total that is getting divided. The total amount is getting divided up. Well, we're not dividing up snow cones, are we? It isn't talking about giving out snow cones to kids and how many does each kid get or anything like that. What's getting divided up? The syrup is getting divided up, right? She has some syrup. It's going into all the different snow cones. So what gets divided up is what goes first in our division equation. Because the 1/4 gallon is getting divided up, we would say 1/4 divided by 16. So several people picked D. And let's talk about why that is incorrect in a second. But first, we know that when we're dividing fractions, we keep the dividend and multiply by the reciprocal. I always say keep the dividend first because we keep the first number. Keep the first number. The dividend is what gets divided, and so it's also the total. That's one of those words that always tricks us up in our vocabulary match. The dividend is the total. The dividend gets divided. And we just said that the 1/4 gallon of syrup is what is getting divided. So I'm going to keep the dividend. Keep the 1/4. And I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. Why do I do this when we say reciprocal? Because this means we are flipping the second number. If I flip 16 over 1, my 1 that was on bottom is now on top, and my 16 that was on top is now on bottom, and I multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1. 4 times 16 is 64. So we know that C must be the correct answer. 1/4 gallon. I'm sorry, 1/64 gallon. What would somebody have done to pick D? And so let's talk about what someone could have done to pick D. Well, here we started with our fraction and we ended with a fraction. If somebody decided that it was the 16 snow cones that we are dividing up, and they still solved mathematically this equation correct, 16, keep the dividend, multiply by the reciprocal, they would have gotten 64. Well, let's look at this. How much syrup was used in each snow cone? 64 gallons of syrup in each snow cone? That's ridiculous. That is, think of 1 gallon of milk and then think of 64 of those. Would you put that in each snow cone? No, that would be ridiculous. So, and plus she only had 1/4 to start with. You can't put 64 in each snow cone. That's crazy. So, right below here, I want you to explain in your own words why D is incorrect. Okay, but you need to show your work for why C is correct.